if you're on the other side of the political divide and you don't care because the wrong team guy got shot, you're what's wrong with this country.
Hey guys, Brad here with another quick hit video. We got to talk about Bill Maher, who is just undefeated in the race for my favorite liberal in America, the most sane, moderate Democrat I think we have left in any sort of prominent media position. Anyway, Bill Maher just took to his podcast, Club Random, to talk about the murder of Charlie Kirk and denounce the violent far left that celebrated this act of political terror in a way that I thought was really, really powerful and is resonating with a lot of people. So we're going to take a look at that. Here's the first clip I want to go over with you guys.
Look, I might drink a little more than usual today because, I don't know when this is airing, but this is a shit day because a guy who sat there, Charlie Kirk, got shot today.
Yeah.
And I can't stop thinking about it.
Neither can I.
And we shouldn't. And if you're on the other side of the political divide and you don't care because the wrong team guy got shot, you're what's wrong with this country.
Honestly, inject this into my veins. I completely agree with Bill that anybody who celebrates political terrorism, right, murdering someone because of their beliefs and speech is just fundamentally un-American, and we can disagree. We can be progressives, conservatives, libertarians, moderates, independents, what have you. But if you want to be an American, you have to believe in America. And America is fundamentally a classically liberal nation built on the idea of the exchange of ideas and hashing out our differences with ballots, not bullets, and all of this. And the people who totally reject that, either extreme they may be on, are the problem. They're the actual enemy, not our Democratic neighbor necessarily, not our Republican neighbor necessarily, but the enemies of tolerance and pluralism and free speech versus the people who still believe in these traditional American values. The other aspect of this that really resonated for me was that Charlie Kirk actually appeared on Club Random on this very podcast with Bill Maher, that he films in the same studio in these same seats. And I tried to put myself in Bill's shoes for a moment and think about that. Like, he sat just feet away from him and they had a conversation in real life. And then he's just months later watching this dude be murdered in the most gruesome, horrific fashion for his ideas and his beliefs. That has to be chilling. I really simply do not blame Bill at all for needing an extra drink or two to deal with that one. The other thing I'll say is that he also, actually, I remember that episode at the time. It was one of the best episodes of Bill Maher's podcast, and the comments on it were really, really positive. I want to go over a couple of those with you here, because when they did this interview, they disagreed mostly on most things, because Bill Maher is of the left and Charlie Kirk is a mega conservative. But for example, the top comment says, "This is probably my favorite episode. Both seem really honest and respectful and curious to hear the other person. Well done, guys. You're both great." Another person commented, "Best debate or conversation ever. Why can't everyone give respect to people who don't agree with us? Way to go for this interview." And that's like why this hits home, this Bill Maher message about Charlie Kirk and the fact that he'd been there is like, these are two guys who left and right were committed to civil discourse. Charlie, I disagreed with him on a lot of things. He certainly said some things that you could dig up and don't age well, but he fundamentally did believe in dialogue and discourse and debate. And so does Bill Maher from the progressive left perspective. And I think those are the two types of voices that need to come together, whether you're a left-wing voice or a right-wing voice. Do you believe in these fundamental American principles or do you not? Now, guys, I'm going to show you the next clip I want to talk about from this Club Random episode. Take a look at this.
Just the fight I have been having with the left, while I'm, of course, the irony, as a lot of people in my position, is still a liberal, just a traditional liberal, won't go along with their, like a lot of the stuff that's just crazy out there too far, which gets Trump elected, blah, blah, blah. As I always say to my woke friends, we voted for the same person. You're just why she lost.
Oh, I get it. Okay. Took me a second. Sorry, I had to absorb that.
Okay. They're the people who don't want to talk. It's my main issue with them. And Charlie Kirk was a guy who, he was always talking. And I talked to him here. You know, the right wingers say what you want about them, but they talk to you. They're not into this leftist think. The left really has much more of a, I don't talk to you, I don't want to deal with you, you're deplorable, I can't break bread with you.
Yeah.
That attitude, and like all the right wingers, they don't have that attitude. No, again, I didn't vote for them. And Charlie Kirk and I certainly don't agree on much politically, but he sat here, he's a human being, he's not a monster.
And a husband and a father.
Yes. And I liked him. I liked them all. They're all nice people when you meet them in person. And they're not as crazy as they would. Nobody's as crazy as they make them out to be.
I love the line where he says to his woke friends that they voted for the same person. They both voted for Kamala, but they're the reason she lost. That's a good one. And there's definitely a grain of truth to that. But more importantly here, I think this is, we're generalizing, but this is kind of true, right? You did have more of the no platform, no debate with fascists, words are violence. This idea that you can't have discourse with people because they're too hateful, bigoted, whatever, because they have a different view than you. That is a left-wing view. The idea of no debate is a left-wing view. Right-wingers have traditionally, at least in my experience, been much more open to debate and disagreements and diversity of perspectives and viewpoints. And frankly, they did that, and eventually they won. Like, Charlie went around to all these college campuses, and when he started, he was the minority viewpoint. Those were overwhelmingly left-wing spaces. And by the end, I mean, look at the massive turnaround in Gen Z's political inclinations and who they voted for. Huge swaths of Gen Z going towards Trump and to the right politically. Charlie had a big impact on that. And he did that not through censoring people, not through deplatforming the other side, but by an incredibly savvy media strategy, right? He was the master of the internet and clipping stuff up and going viral. And two, going and talking to people in person. His legacy is like proof that persuasion is still a thing in American life today. And so I am a little bit heartened by what I see as the rise of the progressive debate bro. So whether it's like some of my friends who are content creators on the left, like Adam Mockler, or some of these TikTok stars like Dean Withers, where they're left wing or they're liberal at least, but their whole thing is debate and dialogue, and they constantly go on TV panels and argue with people and other things. That is a somewhat new phenomenon to me, because I can tell you as a journalist and a media personality in the 2020s, early 2020s, there was so little of that. They would just not talk to the other side because they truly internalized the idea that they're bad, irredeemable. They would even get mad at their people for going on a massive platform if the person who hosted that platform was like problematic. So Bernie Sanders, when he was running for president, his staffers got upset at him for going on Joe Rogan, one of the biggest podcasts in the world, because Joe Rogan was transphobic or whatever. Of course, if you are running for office, even if you don't like Joe Rogan, his audience matters. And it was always insane to just like leave the opportunity to persuade those people on the table and not try to make your case to them, when many of them are actually surprisingly receptive. But they did have that attitude. But maybe it's changing with this rising tide of kind of progressive debate bros. Bill Maher was never really into that. That's one of the reasons I liked him. He still has one of the only major network kind of political talk shows that genuinely has a diversity of perspectives. He just had Ben Shapiro on, who is very much to his right. I just think we need more of that, whether it's his show, whether it's the CNN show, Newsnight, where they have all sorts of different perspectives, and Scott Jennings argues with all of them, or even like on Fox News, The Five, where they have Jessica Tarlov, who's a card-carrying Democrat, and argues with them. I genuinely think that is the way. I think we have to lean into those uncomfortable conversations, that discourse, that dialogue, and all come together to condemn violence and extremism and demonization and radicalism. And right now we are talking about it on the left because of what happened to Charlie and how horrible it is. And that's natural. But in the long term, we also need to talk about the right doing these things as well. Demonizing the left all wants to kill us. They're all traitors, Marxists, communists. We need to tone that down as well. And I think we all need to come together as Americans and remember what makes this country great. And it's the kind of ideas that Bill Maher espouses in this clip and in his podcast more regularly. So he remains undefeated as my favorite liberal in America. And clips like this are the reason why. What do you guys think? Are you big Bill Maher fans still? Let me know in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed. Hit that like button while you're at it. Also, subscribe to my podcast where I take on media and internet craziness. The links to check that out are in the description. And with that, guys, we'll talk again real soon.